For too long, we've relied on trusted third parties to process digital payments. The world is changing, and so are your customers. As cash payments decrease, digital payments become the standard. But existing apps charge transaction fees and lack privacy. BTCPay is a Bitcoin payment platform. It gives control over your business back to you, helping people achieve financial freedom with donations, payments, and more. Help your family and onboard your friends. Use BTCPay to host multiple stores and become a payment platform of your own. While the world changes around you, stay in control of your finances. It's simple to use, censorship resistant, and completely free. This is more than a payment platform. It's transforming digital payments as fast as the world around us.
Less talked, so I think it's mostly up to you, Andy, if you got some advancements.
Yeah. Let's see. I sent you the DMs with the issues that I was having trying to get the build of the dashboard running. I managed to clean up everything except for one error that I need to send you. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But I wanted to test some of those things a little bit more. But I guess dashboard's probably the right place to start, and then I'm thinking after that it's like kind of just running through anything else that we really feel is necessary for 1.5. Because there's other things that I listed uh, on the as part of the proposed agenda, but that's kind of stuff like depending if we want to talk at greater lengths other than 1.5. But yeah, I think the main things for me that I'm thinking about with the dashboard was Dennis and I last time when we met. We kind of decided it's like it might not be perfect. We might not have every little thing that we want in this, but I think where it currently is, or at least as of the latest, is a really great place. And it probably makes the most sense to ship this, and then we'll get feedback. We'll see what people want, what they're missing, all that kind of stuff. Um, so it's a solid base. But the only other thing that I was thinking about that obviously we could still ship without it, but it might be nice would be like kind of it's more of the intermediary states, like the empty state kind of thing, and like what happens, say, and I would probably know these answers if I got a proper build running. So maybe it's more of a question for you, Dennis, which is like, let's say you're getting started, and you obviously created your store. Maybe you've set up a wallet, but then it's like you haven't set up your Lightning node, and you don't intend to use Lightning. Do we keep that card with some of these other cards that go that are will eventually propagate the dashboard view, and then like secondarily, um, will uh, will there be empty states for any of these things? To kind of like for example, uh, with an app for like a point of sale or a crowdfunding type of thing, like will there be kind of an empty state of that, of like you could set this up if you'd like to, or do we just hide everything by default? So think questions like that. We don't necessarily have to have the answers, but if people have thought about that, or if people have thoughts, I can try to help mock those up so we could implement those even if it's after 1.5. But yeah, I know that's a lot, but toss those couple things out for discussion.
Yeah. Okay. Let me share my screen. So basically, the dashboard gets only shown if you've got at least one wallet, that being the on-chain one or Lightning being set up. Otherwise, the general setup wizard is presented. And I think for starters, this wallet balance tile doesn't make any sense to show if there's not a balance. So there would need to be a fallback, or maybe maybe some I don't know. So it's a valid question, what we are going to replace it with. The recent transactions might also be just empty. I think it doesn't make sense to show it if it's empty, so we would skip those tiles, and there wouldn't be an app, so the these both of these tiles wouldn't also be shown, because basically down here I just iterate over the list of apps, and for each app I show both of these tiles.
Yeah, I wonder. I guess no, that makes sense. For transactions and invoices, I don't think it makes sense to show. Balance you wouldn't. I guess the same goes for kind of the payouts or refunds or anything else like that. Like you have no activity there. I could see maybe an instance where, like, for the app stuff, like it could be prompting you, to push you to, because I think one of the things from all the, like, the Freedom Convoy stuff, Trucker Convoy, it made me realize, like, I think more people know now that you can, run a crowdfunding campaign or, whatever from BTCPay, but it always made me think, like, maybe this is another area, to push people towards the notion that you could, create a crowdfund or create some kind of app or something like that. So it's an opportunity to push them in that direction if they don't necessarily know what it is. But other than that, I agree with everything that you're saying.
I think it's a good idea to have easy entry points there, and maybe push people towards the right direction. I think this is good. Nevertheless, we maybe shouldn't have empty states for all of these cards. So I think it wouldn't make sense to have like 5 call to actions: create invoice, create pull request, or payment request, and so on.
I agree.
But in general, I think it's a good idea.
Cool. I just figured we'd come to a conclusion quickly, but that was something that crossed my mind. Whereas, like, everything else you said is like, certain things just don't make sense at all. It's like you don't have a wallet. Why would you see a balance for that kind of thing? So, okay, cool. And it'll degrade really nicely. And let's see. I guess there's the mobile side of things. Were there any issues on that front?
No, I managed to just scale the charts down, so that shouldn't be a problem. And other than that, all of this is based on CSS grid, and things fall beneath each other.
Awesome. Well, damn. Okay. Then it sounds like we're in a really good place. I will make sure that I actually get a build so I can do a little bit more testing for this. But is there any other remaining, like, technical things that we need to actually get this to a place where we could open a non-draft PR?
For this tile, Nicholas needs to finish the NB Explorer refactoring, but he knows about that. We talked about it in yesterday's dev call, and for the other tiles, it's just me. I need to I need to get to implement them.
Cool. Yeah, no, I did love. I will admit, I did love seeing the dev call recorded, because it enables me to catch up without having to be there. Even though I'd like to join those calls and probably will in the future. But it was good.
I think I'll start with the tiles tomorrow.
Cool. Well then, I think it sounds like we're in a good place for that. Let's see. the next, I mean, and I guess with here, it's like everything else that I listed was just kind of new issues that got brought up. Um, I guess there's kind of like the payment wallet settings sort of stuff, which might be a little bit too big of, for this call, it may not necessarily be that relevant. We could step through things and kind of try to make some decisions, but I don't know if that just complicates or blows the scope of 1.5. But I just, when I look at them, I still feel like there's areas where we can improve in those. And we kind of meant to go back and revisit some of that after we shipped 1.4, but we hadn't. And just watching some of the videos that you had posted, Pav, like it kind of made me realize, like, okay, there are still quite a few things. It's like the overall structure of things has gotten easier to use, but some of the individual things and just kind of like cleaning up some of those views, it definitely became, or it's become more of a priority in my mind, moving forward. So maybe it makes sense if I actually have some kind of mocks or something to discuss. But that's definitely something I don't want to forget about.
Yeah, one thing I noticed from those videos, I'm not sure if you did, like that initial setup that was always a nightmare is now such a breeze. Like I so much enjoy just seeing people do 3 clicks and it's all set up. And yeah, they get stuck on certain steps, and especially one of the videos I posted, he really emphasizes like few things in the checkout page itself. I documented all of these issues, so those things that they uh, found problematic are there. So I wouldn't do checkout invoice, definitely not now. The store plugins versus server plugins is something we probably want to tackle also at some other point. So yeah, I guess 1 point.
Pardon?
Yeah, no, and I agree. No, it was pretty awesome to watch people, or at least that one specific one that you had posted. It is pretty amazing to watch somebody step through it really quickly and kind of figure out what that is. And I think that's where the kind of pushing the idea of like, okay, what's next after you start a store? Because I think, most people are kind of used to, if they're, if they intend to start a store, I guess like the Stripe or Square experience where it's like, inherently it's typically a point of sale or something like that. So it's like the notion that, you can do a whole lot of different things, and you may never want to use one of those apps, but like making it really obvious that like that is the way that it's done with BTCPay. That like, okay, once you've done these very easy, 2 or 3 steps or whatever, and connected your wallet, um, then it's just a few more clicks away to start doing something like that. So that was the only other thing that kind of came to mind. And yeah, I have some notes for that as well. But I think mostly it's that same kind of thing that falls into the payment wallet lightning settings type of view, where it's just like, all the options are still a little bit messy. I think it's more just kind of continuing to delineate and consolidate things where they make sense. And I don't know, it's getting there. I think it's just like I'm always viewing things through a really critical lens. So yeah, it's hard. It's like on one hand, yeah, it is awesome to watch all of those things and how much easier it's gotten, but then still looking at all the ways that it could potentially be improved. And yes,
So
yeah.
yeah, one thing that I found in the that we added for the 1.5, but there hasn't been any progress for it, is issue 3461 called remaining updates. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like a priority, and we really do want to like focus on dashboard and other more prominent features. So if you don't want to like tackle this one at this release, we can definitely reschedule it for next. I'm not sure if some of these were tackled, so up to you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it isn't that high of a priority, but I would still like to get to it. I did assign myself to do that, and I think I'm the main blocker here. Dennis has done pretty much most of the work that he can do on his end on the, I guess, the open PR or the draft PR. I can't remember what it is at the moment, but yeah, this is definitely on me. But I would like to kind of wrap some of these things up. This is just cleaning up a few of the other little things, and I think it kind of ties into I don't know. There's progress being made on some of the design system stuff that's going to help improve, some of the view stuff there. But this is mostly just kind of trying to, consolidate and improve a few things that I've taken note of. But yeah, I mean, we could obviously ship without this this stuff, but I'd like to get to some of it. So yeah, that's on me.
Yeah, I just was curious, because I do see it on the milestone, and yeah, we can probably decide what to do with it afterwards. So we also have, yeah, thanks Dennis for sharing. Like this one as well. There has been some discussion around it, so it doesn't seem to have, we don't seem to have consensus on how to proceed. So are there any ideas? Not something that you have to reply right away, but just think about it as well. Do we want to tackle it now? It's really not like a critical thing, but
Yeah.
I think yeah, this is, I think we discussed this the last time also. This is mostly just a matter of allocating some time to it and yeah, basically getting to it, because it's I don't think it's rocket science. Everything we need is there, and we just need to consolidate it. And I think it would be a day of work to do so.
But so one of the things I did want to go back to, because when it, just to discuss, so store plugins versus integrations, like I followed some of that in the dev call, but one of the things that I thought was interesting about that, so is like, is the intention here to kind of still group all, I guess what's the intention behind like integrations should be store plugins and plugins should be server plugins? Like I know you're making the distinction because one's at a server level and one's at a store level that like certain people might have access to or permissions. But I think like I guess on the broader idea, are we attempting or trying to
there are
move?
certain, like, yeah, first one is to cut off the confusion, like cut off the integration part, because it's not really an integration because we now moved Shopify as a plugin, and all we have left now is Lightning Address as an integration, and it will eventually move as well. So the only problematic thing there that I think is when a certain user like uses Isra, can you mute yourself? I think you're cutting off or you have background noise. So it's like, awesome, thank you. Maybe it's on my end because my AirPods died, so I'm on speaker. So we should just try to distinguish between plugins that are store and server, because if an admin activates a plugin, the only way a user can access it is if that plugin adds a way for it to be visible somewhere in the store. And maybe Dennis can correct me on this one, but like users don't have a way to visit a page where they have an overview of all plugins and they cannot navigate through them. So basically this would add is like, for users who aren't admins, it would also add basically a plugin and just show a hierarchy of all plugins and a page where they can basically access them. Because like if you activate a white paper plugin, for example, it doesn't give anything. It doesn't have a way for you to access, like you don't know what to do with it once you activate it. So we left that part out to plugins to add themselves inside navigation. And we really need to distinguish. I think I finally managed to persuade Cooks not to call this integrations because, yeah.
I don't think this is fully correct, because well, there are multiple ways or hooks to offer access to a plugin. I think the most prominent is in the sidebar, like Alan Bank does it. And yeah, I think it also makes sense in the way we are doing it, because depending on the functionality of the plugin, it makes sense to have it in the sidebar or potentially not, and maybe present it elsewhere. So I don't think a separate plugins page to access them is necessary. I think
No, this is just to correct myself. Maybe I communicated it. That this is basically to create integrations page to list actual plugins and to be there in store settings. That's all.
I think this is still there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's called integrations.
Yes. So basically, it would be that we need to rename it.
Um, yeah, and just see what we do with lightning addresses because they are plugins in a way, and then I'm not sure how those are integrated. So we would have to, I think, create Shopify not to be system plugin. I think that's what Cooks wants to do, and then lightning addresses also abstract them from integration, and then we can just use that page that we have and call it store plugins or however we want. So plugins would be visible, I guess, there as well for people to access, I guess.
Yeah, I think if Lightning address is activated, it is also presented in the sidebar.
Yes, but it's not a plugin. It's an integration, and we put it in plugins. So that's why I want to unify everything and nuke the stupid integrations terms, which is not really even correct. But that's whole point. Like rename the integration page if you want to put it simply, but also list a list of plugins on the store level as well there, which can also be listed in the sidebar, but also list them there for people to access them and manage them if they want to. Because some plugins maybe don't make sense to be in the sidebar. Yeah, so you don't want all the plugins to be in the sidebar, just certain ones. And if I, as a user, want to access certain one, maybe I want to go to a dedicated plugins page and access it.
Yeah. Nevertheless, I'm just not sure whether or not we should even distinguish between server and store plugins for the user. So basically, for them, it should be just, well, there are BTCPay plugins, and wherever a certain one makes sense to appear, it's fine, and we wouldn't need this categorization of store and server plugins for the user.
Okay, but what do we do with integrations then?
Well, we can do it just like you said. We can have them in the store settings and list the ones that make sense there. The ones that make sense are the store plugins. Nevertheless, I wouldn't surface the term store plugin and server plugin to the user. I would just talk about plugins.
But the user who isn't the admin, they wouldn't even know if it's store or server. All they would see is plugin, and only distinction there could be made for the server admin themselves, because end user will just see plugins. Same way what you would see. So we would just need to add a little bit distinction there for the store admin, because only for them they would see like these two things. For end users would just see plugins.
Okay, and in which case does it make sense for the store for the admin to know the distinction?
Well, yeah, probably maybe doesn't. Trying to think of a use case. No, I guess it doesn't make sense for them to know distinction either.
Yeah,
So,
I think it would be perfectly fine to just think about them as plugins, at least from the user's perspective, and be done with it.
so basically just maybe rename and some minor cleanup and extraction of certain things there if something is integrated, or
I'd say so, yeah.
Yep,
okay,
I
yeah, this
totally
is
agree.
probably going to be done in the next release anyway. I don't think we'll make it for this one.
Yeah. No, I tend to agree. That's why I asked, because I was curious looking at these things where it's like I do like the simplicity of kind of simplifying things to, is it a plugin? Is it not, as, something external? Or yeah, like a true integration in that way. Because I also wonder that. And I think that's what I was maybe misunderstanding a little bit in the call and even in this ticket, which is just like, are we redefining it? Or are we actually, starting to extract things as plugins? Because I do think that it is a lot easier to conceptualize for the end user. And yeah, I definitely agree with Dennis's point of like distinguishing between store and server and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, just complicates things unnecessarily. Cool. I appreciate the clarification.
I mean, maybe end user does not even need to have a plugin page. Maybe whatever plugin needs to be shown can be shown, as Dennis said. But then I'm really not sure what to do with integrations, because in a way they are store level plugins in a certain way, and just introducing so many different terms is just, we will end up in the same situation like we are now with payment transfer processors, bulk payments, and however these ridiculous things are named. So at certain point really need to start like unifying things and throwing away the complexities.
Yes, I absolutely agree, and that also was my point behind. Let's not open up another bucket inside plugins, because I think we can handle it as an internal thing if there needs to be a separation of them. Nevertheless, for the admin, let's have a simple plugins page. He can go there, he can install their store and server plugins, and we we will show them where they make sense to appear.
Yeah, so I just remembered the use case why a dedicated page is needed for the end user. Like in an example of a Shopify, I guess with integrations, they now have like a separate view within it to modify the store settings and things like that. So a user would need to have like a way to access those, and in a way in which those are implemented, I think is a little bit tricky to have without a certain page to access it. I don't know. Because right now, do we show actually Shopify in the plugins? I don't think we do for the non-admins.
Let me try. So basically, you mean this page is what we are talking about. This would
Yes.
be renamed to plugins, I think.
Yes. We're debating the approach here. I'm just not sure what to do with it, because can you try to set it up for me? You cannot, because you will need the credentials and everything. But yeah, you see, you need a way to access
Yes.
that page as a user, and yeah.
Yeah, and I think having this page where we list every plugin that needs additional info or whatever, this makes sense. It's all good. I just rename this one plugins and have them here. And in case Lightning address is set up, it appears here in the sidebar, which is also good. So basically, I think everything we should do and need is there. We just need to update the wording and be more consistent.
Yeah, I hope this can be done with the wording. I know I talked to Coates today, and he was like, "Well, plugins is like a store, server-wide concept, whereas integrations are a store concept." And yeah, I was like, "Well, then we maybe just need to have two." So yeah, well, let's see how we can. Maybe this can be also discussed in that call. I don't think we can solve this right now.
Yeah, I can also talk to him. I think I got a rough idea of what we want to achieve, and I think
that would be good. Thank you.
All right.
Cool. No, this is still helpful to hear, because this is, I think it helps clarify like what we're describing, the end user case, and how we anticipate people will interact with these things, which hopefully should help inform the dev implementation for these things. So I mean, I think this is good, because when I look at this, it's like we've made tremendous progress, and like you said, Pav, it's incredible to watch somebody step through from the beginning of like, okay, welcome to BTCPay, all right, here's what you need to do. There is still that, like, it's like this last little bit of power, which is like, the apps and plugins. And then additionally, the kind of thing that you touched on, and that I know is hard for all of us, pull payments and payouts and all that kind of stuff. And then like the difference between an invoice and a payment request. And like, I think we're kind of at that stage where it's like we have consolidated things now. And I think we're kind of getting to the in some ways more difficult work of like, okay, now we need to really zero in and focus on improving, just the general experience of each of those things. Cause that's one thing I think about. And some people have brought that up. It's like for a payment request, like making the whole flow of creating one, and just kind of closing that feature out is a very easy thing to do from start to finish, in the same way where there's no one ambiguity of what the feature is, and two ways to mess up, or that there's a whole lot of learning involved. And I don't know if that's just naming and like kind of what we're doing with the integrations, where it's like renaming things, consolidating it down, etc. But like, yeah, I mean, that's in my head from like a really high level. That's kind of where I see things, because things are becoming more clear, and we've made huge strides. But it's like that last little bit, to really make it that much easier to use. Yeah, I think it's like with each release, it's like, okay, let's focus on making invoices and payment requests, really, really great, or pull payments and payouts, and like how do we improve that overall experience, or whatever it is. But I don't know. I think like having a little bit of this time where it's like it's not constantly delivering things has given me a little bit of pause to kind of reflect on where we are. And then plugins are going to be a whole other, you know, yeah, that's going to be a whole thing which starts to evolve and develop. But I don't know. It's really incredible to see it already at this stage where like plugins are an active part of this. And then all the things I think that you've been pushing, which I really appreciate, which is like improved content and trying to figure out how we can get more people to know what's possible with BTCPay and all that kind of stuff. Just that evangelism, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Kind of rambling a little bit, but I just think larger initiatives, versus just toiling around in the UI, because I think that we've made a lot of strides there. But it's like, yeah, what do we really want to improve?
Yeah, one thing we probably should start doing as well is having one-on-one conversation with people and just try to learn. For example, Bas here, who is on a call with us, has done quite a lot of these testings lately and contributing to docs, but has also noticed quite a few inconsistencies, which I guess we probably missed because we use this. Personally, I use it for fifth year in a row every single day, so I got used to certain things. But for some things, those small things, we don't notice them anymore. But I guess as more people come in and trying to involve more contributors, it would be probably better to look at things with a fresh pair of eyes as well. So don't worry, we'll get there. Just take some a little bit of time, I guess.
Definitely. No, and yeah, I've really appreciated Boz's feedback in the UI UX channel. Please keep that kind of stuff coming. Even if I personally don't respond right away, I am reading all of those things. So yeah, no, it is good, and I definitely agree. It's like for the bigger accounts and people that we have, it's like, yeah, following up with them and seeing where their pain points are and all that kind of stuff. I 100% agree with that, which I think will help us really improve certain features more specifically. It's like, okay, I use payment requests every day, like, okay, how are they good or how do they suck? And then another big one that I'm starting to do some research on, and like I've definitely been compiling all the things you've dropped in the Mattermost pub, is the checkout invoice stuff, because that was kind of one of my goals for 1.5 in parallel, was to start thinking about and start mocking together kind of new ideas, and thinking about how we want to address that, because that's going to be a big task, but just trying to start getting mocks that we can start discussing. So I'm hoping to be there soon to where we have something that we can at least start kicking around and getting more thoughts on and stuff like that, because obviously that's going to be a multi-step process. But yeah, that's definitely a big thing in my mind. And then yeah, and just general improvements in the front end for like the point of sale stuff and the crowdfunding stuff, based on all that kind of stuff, just really making, adding the level of professionalism on the front end that we're starting to kind of carve out here, on the actual admin panel, of this whole thing. So yeah, I don't know. not too many updates, but it's like you said, it's taking time. But I think sometimes stepping back to reflect on where we are is also a good thing. And I think I've been trying to take that time. Um, let's see, what other things I had.
I think most things for this release we probably discussed already. I'm not sure. I think and everything else is probably better suited for the next one because I think, and maybe Dennis knows this as well, but I think we agreed on a 2 week top, and this time really 2 week top to push 1.5 because we did bug fix release today, finally fixing so many other things, and now all is left to do is to get Temper to review all the pull requests and for us to merge in all the big features. So there will be time for these small things to be ironed out.
Yes. I'll try to finish the dashboard as best as I can next week because on Saturday, so next Saturday, I'll be on vacation for 1 week. But I think everything that will be left over till then can be easily done by or finished by cooks if we don't get to finish it, depending on how far
When
Nicholas
you get
gets.
back from holiday, the dashboard will probably show statistics for God knows what. If
Yes.
you leave it up to Cook. So it will probably show like statistics, federated BTCPay server instances and things like that. So yeah,
Yes.
let's try to wrap it up. At least the MVP, get it out there, and we'll see
Yeah,
after.
I'll do my best.
Okay. Are there any other things? We said we will keep this one short, and we are 40 minutes into it. So
Yeah,
I'm good.
nothing, and I'm okay with that. Like I like. I mean, I feel like we don't always get the opportunity to talk about, some of these things, and even if we're only saving 20 minutes or whatever, I still like hearing what you guys have to say at a high level of where we are. Because I think we've changed a lot and we've made a lot of progress, and it's like kind of stepping back and reflecting on like, okay, what have we succeeded in doing, and like what's next, and what really feels important. Because I do think that, like, for better or worse, these changes have exposed a lot of good things, and they've also highlighted areas that Boz is starting to recognize too, which is inconsistencies, and I don't know, it's enabling us to consolidate and improve things at a very specific level. So yeah, I just really like hearing that, and what you guys see is important as well, because I think it's sometimes easy to be like, we just have to keep shipping things and shipping things, but if we're not addressing some of the bigger problems, or issues that are a little bit less I don't know what the right way to put it is, core to improving the overall experience, then we're not we could be making bigger strides, which I'm not saying that's what is happening, but it can very easily happen.
Andy, did you see the comments I wrote on the design repo? I'm not sure whether or not we talked about it the last time.
Yes, I did. Which ones are you referring to specifically? Just like
None specifically. Just there were some issues I replied to, and yeah.
Yes, I did. That similar to the app updates and stuff like that. I owe you a few things. So yes, that.
Yeah, I just
not,
wanted to ensure those don't get missed.
No, definitely. No, I will get back to you on those, and we'll keep pushing those. So yeah, hopefully some of those things will go out with 1.5 as well.
Yeah.
Nice. But yeah. Yeah, we can keep this one short today, but as usual, great work. 1.5, it really does. It's like when I think about how hard we were pushing for 1.4, it feels like 1.5 has been a lot like easier and to some extent, getting things. It feels a lot it's more smooth and there isn't as much of a noise or issues getting to this point. So, yeah, obviously that's a huge in part because of Dennis, all the fantastic work you do. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty awesome to watch things go so smoothly and how each major release is getting easier and easier, it feels like. But maybe I'm speaking too soon. But, yeah.
All right.
Okay, let's wrap it up then.
Cool.
Enjoy the rest of your day. It was
Yeah.
fun talking to you, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Later, guys.
For too long, we've relied on trusted third parties to process digital payments. The world is changing, and so are your customers. As cash payments decrease, digital payments become the standard. But existing apps charge transaction fees and lack privacy. BTCPay is a Bitcoin payment platform. It gives control over your business back to you, helping people achieve financial freedom with donations, payments, and more. Help your family and onboard your friends. Use BTCPay to host multiple stores and become a payment platform of your own. While the world changes around you, stay in control of your finances. It's simple to use, censorship resistant, and completely free. This is more than a payment platform. It's transforming digital payments as fast as the world around us.